Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of the UK Connection. The reason why it's called the UK Connection is because my two colleagues right over here, we got Simon Bray and Steven Reid joining me as always each and every Saturday afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. Greetings, my friends. How are you?
Excellent. Fantastic. Phenomenal.
That's really
good. That's really good. I'm pleased for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's made up, but it sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm really good.
Before we get started today, so our topic for the day is our best and worst opening acts 2010 to today to 2022. But before we get to that, we have a couple things to take care of first. Before we start, I have a question for Simon today. Do you support Bastard Rovers or the Mighty Clarets? And honestly, I don't have a fuck idea what that means, but a viewer asked me to ask you that.
How can it? Firstly, and this is really, really good because I'm going to combine an answer with beer, right? Okay. What the fuck? I would definitely refer to Bastard Rovers as Bastard Rovers without any shadow of a doubt. Yes. I would also probably refer to the Mighty Clarets as Clarets. Like
I had no idea how to say it. Like Clarets. I don't know.
Clarets, the Mighty Clarets, yes, indeed. It's not like I don't discuss them practically every week, is it? It's not like I didn't get grief in the comments saying, "Oh, have you got a Nottingham Forest shirt?" and all that shit. It's not like it's well known that I am a Claret. I feel like that is now how I want to be for the rest of my life. And brilliantly, you know, when you said there was loads of clanky, you know, when Stephen turned up about 38 minutes late.
Nobody asked me to come.
Oh, well, there you go. I was going through the fridge over there, and I actually, in the bottom of the fridge, and it's a little bit out of date, let me tell you, is I've got some Happy Place Turf Moor Stout. And Turf Moor, Peter, is where the Mighty Clarets play. It's the home of football. Not Ewok Park where Bastard Rovers play. No. Yeah. Yes, I definitely.
Oh, of course, I could have gone and looked all this shit up before I asked you this question today, but I almost didn't want to know because I wanted to just be completely clueless and hear your explanation. So,
yeah, it's because they play in claret and blue.
Gotcha. Okay.
Are you any the wiser, Peter?
No, but that's okay.
No.
It makes for good television, so that's all that matters.
I just thought I'd ask.
Thank you. Yeah, and I responded.
There you go.
Yeah,
My other bit of business is since we did our Kiss episode, I have been listening quite a bit to a lot of those 80s and early 90s albums, just because, you know, I picked two of them in my bottom half, and I was like, you know what, I want to just go spend even more time with these, because when it comes to Kiss, I generally listen to the early stuff, even though I've listened to all this other stuff, obviously. And I will say, Steven Reid, that this is a really good album, and I don't know what you're talking about. That's why you don't like this, but yet you like this and this and this. I honestly don't see much different here. I mean, I've had enough. Into the Fire, Under the Gun, Thrills in the Night, Lonely as the Hunter. These are all really good songs. I'm listening. I'm like, why does he not like this album? I know what you like. And I'm like, it makes no sense. It boggles my mind. So I don't know.
Well, as we say in the comments, Peter, it's not worst. It's least favorite.
True. But I believe you said this is utter shit.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes it my least favorite. Yeah, I don't like Animalize. I've never liked Animalize. I really like the albums either side of it. I really like Asylum. Really like that album.
Asylum is really good. Really good. And I will say, this week I've listened to this more than anything else. And again, I've listened to this a ton in my life, but not a lot in recent years. This is terrific. This is great. This is not bad either. right? I will say, again, remember, I think we talked about, or at least I mentioned that if we were to do this ranking again in a couple of weeks, I'd probably change some things. This might creep down into the bottom. I do like this though. It's just different. I don't know. None of these albums are bad. They really
I'll
are.
ask you a question, Peter. Okay, so you've got Lick It Up in one hand.
Yep.
Right? You put Animalize in the other hand. Okay, now remember that one album follows the other.
Yeah.
See, Simon has the idea here. Okay, so tell me which of the songs on Animalize are good enough to be on Lick It Up?
Are good enough to be on Lick It Up?
Yeah, if you were to replace a song on Lick It Up with a better song that's on Animalize, a better song.
Let's see.
Mm.
I could do without A Million to One and give me I've Had Enough Into the Fire. And I could probably take off Dance All Over Your Face and put, I think Thrills of the Night is terrific.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. Okay.
Heaven's on Fire is fun. It's silly, but it's fun. I don't know. Lonely as a Hunter is really good too. What a riff on that song. I don't know. I think half of this album is really, really good. The other songs are like, they're okay. I don't know. What can I tell you? Regardless, this is very strong.
Yes, I really like that album. That pushes for being my favorite Kiss albums, ebb and flow, and I do like much more than just the handful of albums in the 80s that I really focused on the show. As we talk about, the journey is important.
Yeah.
And my Kiss journey starts in that era, and those albums resonate or don't for specific reasons. And Animalize was a disappointment. After I didn't buy Lick It Up when it came out. I was too young. But Lick It Up was the first Kiss album that I bought. I then bought Asylum because that came out. I then bought the album that came in the middle and went, oh, it's all right. And I've never been able to shake that off. And that is why we do. I don't like Animalize very much at all. Is it their worst album? Probably not. No, I'm going to do a whole Kiss show, sorry. You could argue that realistically the worst two are the newest two, right? But they're not. But they might be. But I've no affection for them because the band has evolved and changed and all that kind of stuff. But I'm more ambivalent towards them than I am least favourite towards them.
Right. Got you.
Do you know?
I totally get that. I just wanted to have a little fun because I was like, man, that's pretty damn good. And I will say, when I was listening to, I had Asylum played in the car for a couple of days this week. I must have listened to Tears Are Falling like 5 times over the span of like 24 hours. I just kept replaying it. I'm like, oh man, this is so good.
And Simon is so right. I mean, the lyrics to All Night are
it's fucking awful.
It's so that riff is absolutely out of this world. So yeah.
Anyway, folks, thanks for hanging in here. A little part 2.5 from Stephen, what are you drinking? Simon's already through his beer.
I'm back at the St Andrews Brewery here. It's where I'm at Dumbarton Links, because obviously it's St Andrews, the home of golf, all golf linked, but the open here right now basically. So I'm drinking a premium Scottish IPA. Is what I'm drinking, which looks just like that. And it's not actually today, but it has been in recent weeks or days anyway. It's been warmed by Scottish standards. So this is a good drink for a warmer evening. So that's a couple of reasons why I'm on that.
IPAs are all the rage here in the States, and especially here on the East Coast. I'm really curious what like an IPA tastes like coming from your neck of the woods. And I wonder how different or similar it is,
Yeah, see, I'm intrigued the other way around because, to give away all the trade secrets, in the group chat we've got for In the Proxy, there are lots and lots and lots of IPA pictures shared.
Oh yeah,
from your side of the Atlantic, and they don't really look very much like this.
No, because to my eyes, that looks like a lager or a pilsner.
Yes, it doesn't taste like a lager or a pilsner, but it does look more like one. Yeah, I mean the one that I showed last week, that was beyond hazy. That looked like dishwater and tasted phenomenal by the way.
It looked good. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this looks okay and tastes really good. It's not the best IPA I've ever had, to be honest, but it is a good one. So yeah, I would be intrigued too.
Simon, Stevie probably looks at all these photographs that he sees in this little private message thread on Facebook. He probably sees all these IPAs, these New England IPAs. He's like, that looks like that dreaded pineapple juice that I can't stand, right? Because it's a lot of that's what it looks like orange juice or pineapple juice. It's thick, it's cloudy, hazy. So as Simon and I were talking about before we started recording, before Steven jumped on, I had a little get together with my buddies a couple of weeks ago, and everybody, I bought all sorts of beer. They brought some beer, and I decided I wanted to go out and buy some of my favorite beers from Vermont. Okay, a very cool state, very good state for beer. And I was able to find a bunch of things, and I hadn't had this in a while. And this is from a brewery called Fiddlehead. So it's a Fiddlehead IPA. Please store cold, 6.2% alcohol from the Fiddlehead Brewing Company in the hell's the name of the town? Shelburne, Vermont. So this is probably going to be somewhere between, as far as the look goes, between what Steven, hold on, got to do the right hand here, somewhere between what Steven is drinking and what like those traditional New England IPAs are. So it's not going to be, I don't think, too cloudy. Well, I'm getting a good pour here, gentlemen.
Good.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
actually a little bit cloudy. Yeah, that's a little cloudier than I remember. I haven't had it in a while. Yeah, definitely cloudier than yours.
yeah.
Definitely a lot lighter than Simon's.
You can
that dark mud.
keep my hand through mine. Yours is, I mean, that actually looks just a bit solid.
So just so you know, I'm getting a little pine, a little citrus, a little grass. Kind of weird to say that, but a lot of people say that, beer drinkers here.
Just to let you know, I'm getting a little bit of bullshit. Yeah, that's,
What?
I was being facetious, Peter.
Oh, okay. This one's a little on the bitter side, but it's okay. So anyway, gentlemen, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, wait a second. Simon, that glass is tremendous.
You've seen it before. It's the Dark Revolution glass.
Yeah, I didn't get the full scope of the bottom half. I love those style
Sexy,
glasses.
isn't it?
Yeah, that nice little handle there, and yeah, I like that. I don't have one of those. Well, not like that. I have.
Well, if you come to the UK, I'm sure they can get you one.
Cool. I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to do that. So anyway, Simon, on to our topic today. So why don't you kick us off with your favorite opening acts from 2010 to last week or yesterday or today, whatever.
Oh, well, I just thought we were doing that deck. Oh, okay. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. Okay, right. I'll try and mention ones that I haven't mentioned before. 2011. Do you remember last week we were talking about how Journey decided it was a really good idea to play Don't Stop Believing last?
Yes.
Yep. Well, as we know that Foreigner were in the middle of that sandwich, well, Styx were the opening act. Styx were fucking brilliant. They were really, 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 really good. I've got a bootleg of it somewhere, and I didn't realize at the time that Toby's so fucking but and got the really bad cold. Yeah, you couldn't tell when he was. Yeah, you couldn't tell. He sounded like he was dying when he was actually speaking, which you couldn't tell at the time. But they were excellent. They played just like all the good stuff, and they did that brilliant thing where they pretended to walk off because they were like bottom of the bill and came back on for an encore. And I always like that. I do. Oh, we're coming back. Yay! You want some more? Well, you know, you're going to do it anyhow, won't you? But I really think they should have been at the top of that bill, and it should have been the other way around. But that's just me. Yes, that's
I'm
just.
seeing Styx in a few weeks. Can't wait.
Always.
Styx, REO Speedwagon, and Loverboy.
The problem with changing the bill order round is that when I saw Styx headline in Glasgow, not very many other people saw Styx headlining.
Yeah, you've definitely mentioned that before. Yeah. Other good support acts, he said, going on quite so hardcore superstar.
They're a good band.
They were, and they were playing. Guess who? Steven Reid. Guess who they were supporting? In the Manchester Ritz, which holds quite a lot of people.
I probably should know, but I can't remember.
Would you like a clue?
Michael Monroe?
Nope. Would you like a clue?
Yeah, go on then.
I don't like them.
I like them.
You do not like
I do not like them. Oh, well, in that case, they definitely opened for the Not Quite So Mighty Choir Boys.
They did indeed, and in such a big venue. I was able to get really close to both bands. Yes, yes, I was. So, yeah. So, but they were really good. I'd never seen them before. It's quite an odd bill. You wouldn't thought that they would go together, and clearly most people didn't think that they did. So, yeah, good. I saw the Faroe Islands finest Tier supports Sabaton. Got Sabaton, Ting, and sandwiched in between them was Corpi Kalani, who did the Corpi Kalani thing, just like they always do.
You know, I got to be honest with you. I don't see the appeal of that band whatsoever.
You wait until they sing the song about vodka and everything's okay. But once you've seen them once,
that's it, right? Yeah, I've heard one album, I don't need to hear any of the others. So.
Yeah, but Tier were
very good.
Really good. Yeah,
that's a good band.
I stepped outside the SLT paradigm and I saw the Brazillos for the only time in my life, which is a bit obscure for Brazillo fans. No, excellent. Okay, good times. Sorry. Oh well, such is life. Yeah, who else were good? So Whiskey Myers, they were good.
Oh, good band.
Yeah, they were sporting the Cadillac 27, and they were 3, and they were very, very good. They had 5 more members on stage than they did on the record.
That's a good kind of modern Southern rock bill right there.
Yeah, they were very, to use a Simonism, Marshall Tuckery. Yeah. Stick a Y on it and it always works, kids. You know,
always works. That's right.
You know it makes sense. Who else did I see that I liked? Because I'm gonna. I did see, and it's the sole reason I really went. I saw the Quo in December 2016, and REO Speedwagon were in support.
Oh, nice.
That was awesome because that was one to tick off the list. It's amazing how quickly he can speak in between songs when he doesn't have that much time.
When he's in that opening slot, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was in the middle. It's in the middle. Right? What are they called? Lounge Kittens opened. Lounge Kittens. They did classic rock in a lounge style. 3 lady type people. A bit like Richard Cheese, but without the sweariness.
A bit like
Richard Cheese.
Richard Cheese.
Not familiar with the work of the Cheese. Okay, you have no cultural capital. I'm not angering you. Just disappointed. I did also see our very, very good friends and who were absolutely magnificent supporting Europe and Deep Purple. That was Cats in Space. They were mind-numbingly good. They were really, really, really. Yeah, they're not coming to America, are they, Pete? They were really, really excellent. Yeah. Just saying. So Eden's Curse.
Sure, if I plead with Greg enough, he'll do whatever he can to get those guys over here. But I'm not.
Of course he will.
They need a Scottish this time first. Come on, whoa.
Oh well, never mind that. I saw Eden's Curse supporting Michael Schenken. Not very many people there. The Curse were great. I saw a band called Blind Haze, who were really excellent, supporting Nashville Pussy. They're from Leeds. They don't appear to exist anymore. Last time I looked at their social media thing, they were a bit like Mods Heady meets Guns N' Roses glammy. They were really, really good. I really enjoyed them. Even bought the T-shirt to support them, and now they don't appear to exist. I've nearly done. I also saw. I see that we're really. I just can't wait to let you know who I didn't like. Just saying. Yes, I saw Wind Rose support Glory Hammer.
Glory Hammer. Wow.
Yes, I know you don't like them, Stephen, but you actually support Glory Hammer and Beast in Black, I think.
Whoa. You saw who?
Which one? I saw Wind Rose.
Rose.
Sorry?
Wind Rose.
Yeah. Best known for their novelty hit, Dig a Hole.
No.
Oh, come on.
I know who Glory Hammer are because I do like them.
Oh, you don't like Ailstorm?
I don't like Ailstorm. I like Glory Hammer because their humour is all very local to me. Yeah. Any band that can get away with Beneath Cowdenbeath will do for me. I mean, yeah. As a Dundee supporter, I happily wore a Glory Hammer T-shirt with "For the Glory of Dundee" on the back. So,
excellent. Yes, indeed. They did play their hit part way through, and it's time to go. What? Okay, excellent. Good times. Yes, indeed. Because are many of these things about pacing and timing, and putting songs in the right place, and yeah. I really enjoyed Love Bites, the Japanese all-female group. Oh God, those are two excellent guitarists. Really, really good. Super, nearly finished. I saw Hanger Vane, who are Italian, supporting DAD.
Oh,
Been
nice.
waiting for 30 odd years, and so were the other 100 odd people that turned up as well. It was great. But Hanger Vane were really, really good, really quite funky, classic rock, but with a funky kind of twist. And of course, they did the obligatory cover. The name of which has gone out of my head, but it was pretty good. We'll get back to you later. I'll suddenly go, ah! Yes, indeed. Lots of good stuff, and only a couple of bad stuff that's heading your way soon.
Okay.
Black Betty, that's what they did.
What did they do, sorry?
Betty, Ramalam, Black Betty, Ramalam, Ramalam, Black Betty, Ramalam, Ramalam. Yeah, we got it.
They did it well.
They did it very, very well. It's on their album as well, which is a really good album.
I would say if anybody fucks up Black Betty, they shouldn't be playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those songs I think I've heard enough times until I hear it again and I think that's great.
No, right? I remember the last time I saw Pat Travers' band, they played it. I was like, wow, this is amazing, right? It's like an album, I think they play it all the time now. So like, all right, whatever.
Are we actually doing up till 2022?
Yes.
I don't know if it's recent as that, but we are, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, in that case, then I would very much like to mention that I saw Grand Slam a couple of months ago. Where the fuck was Phil? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Really? All these years I've waited and he wasn't there?
He's only playing select shows.
Oh, is that what it is? Not even Mike Stanway turned up, but they were excellent. They really, really.
So who's in the band?
People. Lawrence Archer.
Lawrence Archer, that's probably it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Rocky Newton.
Okay.
Yeah. They were really, really excellent. I would go and see them again in a heartbeat. And I saw a band supporting Alice Cooper called Creeper. And it really made me want to go and get It really made me want to go and get the black eyeliner and stuff, and maybe slit my wrists and stuff. They were really good. They really did fulfill the entire arena. Ones to watch for, kids. Just saying. Not off. I have now done.
You have to hear first. So, right, okay, I'll start. And for the first couple, I have done that clever thing of doing lots of notes and forgetting to write down the actual year. So let's just guess. So on the 21st of May, I think 2010, at the Glasgow Cat House, opening for our favourites, but especially Simon's, FM. Now, I've brought a little bit of show and tell tonight, and it's not tickets, and I've brought a bit of show and tell because lots of people will go, who? Okay, so I've brought the debut album from Air Race. Okay, and for the uninitiated, Air Race feature, I think let's look at it correctly, this chap here is a certain Jason Bonham. So this was the first thing that he was in, or not even just of any note, of the first thing he was in. And it really wasn't of note because it got roundly ignored, but it's bloody excellent. This is really good, solid, melodic hard rock from the UK. We produced lots of bands like this that basically went nowhere. That when you listen to it, you go, why did they go nowhere? So this album came out in '84. They also had a guy called Laurie Mansworth on guitar, and he was also in a band called More, and went on to be something of a kind of minor Svengali. He kind of was the force behind a band that were originally called Hurricane Party, and then there was a hurricane somewhere, and they were forced to change their name to Roadstar. They morphed into a band called Heaven's Basement, and then they moved off in a different direction entirely, eventually. But he's also kind of one of the main people behind The Treatment, who are an excellent young band. And he is very much a behind-the-scenes kind of guy these days, but This was him back on stage. The singer was a chap called Keith Murrell, or Murrell, I'm not quite sure which way around that works. He was in Mama's Boys for a period of time. And they did a comeback round about this sort of time. They had an album called Back to the Start in 2011, so the year after they had done this tour. And Rock Candy put the debut back out again, and it was just outstandingly good. And as I went through this period of time, I realised something that hadn't kind of clicked before, that I saw a lot of bands that, as Simon did, I really wanted to tick off, as I really wanted to see. But so many of them were actually opening acts, and it happened kind of by accident. It wasn't really the main reason that I was going, or I just kind of thought, well, I really like the main band too. This is an absolute win. So 4th of May, the next year, 2011, well, it's at a venue called the Glasgow Apollo, which for anyone who knows roughly my age and when the Glasgow Apollo closed goes, well, that makes no sense, because it was in a small room called the Glasgow Apollo 23. Never heard of it before, never heard of it since. And as we were queuing to get into this faceless concrete facade, you realise that the sign outside had a kind of 2 sides to it. And they could clearly change the venue's name depending on what sort of night they were having. So I think that 99 times out of 100, this was a nightclub. And then somebody somewhere had kind of thought, do you know what? Ginger Wildheart is playing acoustic. Where can we get him in Glasgow? Well, that venue's obviously booked, and that one must be booked. And do you think they put on bands? Well, the answer was no, but they played there anyway. And the opening band was an act called Jackdaw 4. Okay, who I presume most people won't really know very much about. Jackdaw 4, the main guy in Jackdaw 4 was a chap called Willie Dowling. And Willie Dowling was in The Grip in the late 80s, early 90s, another UK hard rock, melodic kind of hard rock band who never got the recognition they deserved. He spent about 3 nanoseconds as a keyboard player in the Wild Hearts. The Wild Hearts don't have a keyboard player. They did for a week and a half or a couple of months, whatever it was. And then he was in a band called Honeycrack with CJ Wildheart. Okay. And I followed all of these things. I liked all of those bands. It just works in that little kind of sphere of kind of all these people that get together and move apart that I have followed over the years. And for anyone that likes a bit of XTC, the Beatles, 10cc, and most kind of UK 60s cop shows theme tunes, you really should be listening to some Jackdaw 4. They don't exist anymore, but they released 4 albums whilst they did. And this was the only time that I saw them live because they never really played live. So it was just a 2-piece on the night. A guy called John Steele played guitar, and they were just lots of fun. Willie Dowling is really sharp, really witty, and it was an evening, well, I mean, they were opening act, but an evening of comedy, basically, with some music interspersed. That's not what they were meant to be, but it turned out that way. And anyone that didn't know who they were, by the end of it, was fully on board. They were just so much fun. And if I've piqued anyone's interest, he's now in a band called the Dowling Pool with Random John Poole, who's also been in a band called the Wild Hearts and the Cardiacs, to be fair. And they're doing similar-ish music to Jackdaw 4, kind of continuing on. So this was the only time I saw them, and they were great. Really, really good. So 11th of September 2011, I saw a band called Attica Rage. They were the headline act. They're a Scottish band, and they were recording their DVD at the Glasgow Classic Grand. And I don't know if they needed an act to open for them, maybe draw more punters in to make sure it was full for the DVD shoot, or whether they could just, in Scotland, pull more of a crowd than Praying Mantis could. I'm not sure, but Praying Mantis opened, and it just felt all the wrong way around. But on the night, it was the right way to go, to be fair, because Attica Rage were kind of viewed as local heroes. Praying Mantis, as we know, were a new wave of British heavy metal band that were really not a new wave of British heavy metal band. They were much more of a melodic rock band. They have hardened up over the years as things have gone on. And they've had, I mean, a who's of singers has come through that band. They've had Bernie Shaw, they've had Paul Diano, they've had Dougie White, they've had Gary Barden, Tony O'Hora, John Sloman. Well, we saw them with a guy called Martin Freeman, not the actor chap in Sherlock and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and countless other things. And Martin Freeman was excellent. He covered all kind of newer stuff that they were doing and all of the older stuff that they'd done. But he did look a little bit like your dad dancing on stage in a leather waistcoat. And it was one of those things where you thought he was great, and then about a year later they kind of moved on without him. You kind of thought, yeah, I saw that coming. And I mean that with a lot of affection, because he really was tremendous. He was absolutely tremendous. It's the only time I've seen them. They don't really play Scotland a lot. I think probably over the years it's been 3 or 4 times. We're talking from the mid-80s here. So this was one of those too good to be true ones, and they lived up to expectations. They were really, really good. So then exactly a year later, I saw a band called, you can't really see the name on there, but De Expis. Okay, so a kind of melodic prog band. Mark Kelly from Marillion played keyboards on this album, and that's who they opened for. They played at the Edinburgh Picture House, which is now closed down. It's a shame. Didn't last very long as a venue. I think it's a good old Wetherspoons now. And they were just great. I love this album. Their debut album is also very good, but King of Number 33 was the one that I really got into. And their singer was a chap called Tony Wright, not the guy from Terror Vision. But unfortunately, it looked like the band were going to end at that point because he got a condition called cluster headaches, where basically if he fell asleep, he got huge, painful headaches immediately. And just couldn't sleep at all, basically. And he retired from the band.
That must be awful.
That must be awful. He retired from the band, and that seemed to finish them. But Andy Ditchfield, who was kind of the main songwriter and the guitarist, played keyboards in the studio. He took on the singing duties as well, as if he wasn't already doing enough. So we went along. I love Marillion, but I also really wanted to see De Expis, but kind of with kind of low expectations. You thought without the singer, this might not work, but it really did. And it's just a shame that they've been thoroughly inactive since. They've done one song during lockdown, really because everyone in the band is now so busy doing other things. But they were just superb that night. And they're another one of those UK kind of, from this current prog scene, there's definitely a UK prog sound, I would say. And they really, to me, are one of the best ones that have come through from that scene. But they just never managed to be around long enough to make a kind of impact more than anything else. So 7th of December 2014, I saw opening for Saxon at the Glasgow ABC. I was in hell. Okay, now Hell's story is a bit unusual as well because they formed way back in the 80s. They recorded a demo which came with the album that I've just shown there. And the demos were legendary. They went on to be traded in the tape scenes over the years because the band, they got a record deal with Mausoleum just as they folded. So the debut album never came out. Tragically, their singer at the time, a guy called Dave G. Halliday, committed suicide not long after that. And as you would expect, the band folded. But they kind of became more mythical and legendary as time went on, and more people heard the songs that were on the demo and kind of thought, well, you know, why is this not a thing that we all know? Why are we never heard Hell? What happened to them? So eventually they came back and they released their debut, Human Remains, which is utterly outstanding, utterly outstanding. Andy Sneap, who of course we all know now, has gone on to humongous greater things with a bit of controversy along the way, to be fair. He worked with the band, but really became part of the band at this time. Martin Valkyr, is that how you pronounce his name? Skyclad guy. He was in the band prior to this too, and that didn't really work out. He was in it as vocalist. And Kev Bauer, or Boer, who is the guitarist in the band, his brother Dave came on board as the singer. And wow, I mean, what a stroke of luck more than anything else, because his performance live on here, he's great. Live, wow, he's an actor to trade. And he really was. He was like a kind of deranged evangelical preacher. I mean, they had the crown of thorns, and it was really, I mean, back in the day when they were doing this kind of stuff in the 80s, I mean, they had exploding Bibles and various things. They must have been blowing people's minds, never mind Bibles. But even, 30 odd years later, you kind of came away from it going, wow, can we do this? It was so effective, and they were so good. The band were tight as hell. It's really fantastic 80s UK metal, so good. And I would go as far as to suggest that I would put Hell down as one of the best top 3 opening acts I've ever seen, not just in this decade, but that I've ever seen. I mean, Saxon were great, and nobody was talking about Saxon at the end of the show. I mean, Saxon were on form, on fire, promoting a great album. They were brilliant, and everybody was talking about Hell at the end of the show. They were so good. People who knew them were like, oh, they were as good as I wanted. and people who didn't were like, who the hell was that? No pun intended. It was just absolutely mind-blowingly good. So
It's such a great album. Such a great album.
Such a great album. And the one that follows it, which the name escapes me, something in Chapter, Cursing Chapter is what it is that came after. It's not quite as good, but it is also worth hearing, I have to say. And it's a shame that with everything that's gone on since, Andy Sneap being so in demand and so busy, it would appear that that's kind of put the kibosh on it, and we've never heard a thing from them since. But that really goes down as, I could happily have come and watched their 45 minutes. Saxon gave them a great sound. They had a great light show, which really helped the presentation of the evilness and the schlock horror that was happening on stage. They were given every chance to be as good as they could be, and they took it, and really was pretty special. So my last one that I want to wax lyrical about, a couple of honourable mentions as well, is the 11th of January 2017. I've touched on this show before as well, because funnily enough, Simon, I saw Sabaton. And although it was Twilight Force that opened with lots of capes and swords and all manner of nonsense, except with the middle band. So they only got a 40-minute set. So I'm classed them as an opening act. And it's the only time I've ever seen them. I think it was the second time they played Scotland. I think it was something like 30 odd years in between, believe it or not. And it was a dream come true for me. I mean, yeah, Wolf Hoffman was and is the only guy that really was part of the band that I fell in love with. But Mark Tornillo is a great frontman for them. He does the old stuff really well. The new stuff is really good. And they were just tremendous. It was, I mean, we got Restless and Wild, we got London Leather Boys, we got Princess of the Dawn, Fast as a Shark, Metal Heart, Balls to the Wall, and a selection of some of the best newer stuff as well. They were really, really good. The only kind of slight glitch was that the tour must have been playing much bigger venues, because as we all know, Sabaton, they bring a stage set. So that obviously pushes everybody else a little bit further forward. And Accept also brought quite a big stage set. So they had these massive I don't think they managed to get all of the parts of their stage set on in front of Sabaton's, and they would have been better just not bothering, because they left themselves about 3 or 4 feet between them and the front of the stage to actually play in.
Yeah.
And it just meant that they could only all stand still, realistically. It didn't spoil any of my fun, because that's really what I was there to see. Sabaton were great. Sabaton are always great. We've spoken at length about how good they are live. But to me, it was all about Accept. And I was just delighted to finally have seen them. And I would hope that they come back again at some point, because I would like to see them again.
Isn't it interesting how in your neck of the woods, Accept would open for Sabaton and here it would be the other way around?
Yeah, it shocked me at the time. I mean, I genuinely thought we're going to turn up here and they're both going to get maybe an hour and 20 minutes each. And it's going to be, actually, you'll walk out and kind of, that really was just a co-headline show. And it really was not. It was not a co-headline show. Funnily enough, anyone who watched the support act, was that right? Whatever show we did last, and I spoke about the Academy 2, and there was those bands that played in that bar, basically.
Yeah.
And right, that was where Accept's merch was. So Sabaton had so much merch that there was no room for anybody else at the merch stall. They had so much stuff, you could fill the room that I'm sitting in with t-shirts and jackets and sunglasses. And
so they're doing the Iron Maiden thing, basically. It's like, we're going to bring anything and everything that you could possibly imagine. We're going to sell it.
And of course, I had to be I don't know how Accept made any money that night, because I had to ask it, where's the Accept? Surely Accept have brought some shirts, have they not? And the guy was like, yeah, you have to go out and back up the stairs. Funnily enough, the same directions I got to go and see Misbehaviour and Serpentine and Houston and all these bands. And you walked in, and yeah, here was this lonely guy at the merch stall standing in a room with three other people, selling no t-shirts. They were very expensive.
They were, weren't they?
They were about £35 for a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So it was,
and that was they were the same at Manchester, and their merch was upstairs at Manchester, which it never ever has been.
No.
But it's a bigger venue, I assume, as the Apollo, and it was Twilight Force who didn't have much room, and you do look a bit of a dick when you're swinging your sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. You really do. Yeah. Yeah, it really was a Sabaton headline show.
Yeah, when you saw them, I don't know if Twilight Force actually played in front of a curtain,
Yeah.
And no backdrop whatsoever. So it was just a curtain. And as you say, people dressed as elves, waving swords about and being worried if they would fall into the crowd. It was, I mean, actually, they were great fun. And I went away and bought their album and brought it home and thought, wow, that's really garbage. But on the night, they were actually really good fun because, yeah, it's shtick and it's stupid and it's nonsense. But I was rattling my sword at the same time as they were. And except for brilliant, but yeah, it was definitely a Sabaton headline show. And I hadn't really anticipated that because except in my world, are still huge. But clearly not. And that maybe explains why they've never played here. I mean, there are smaller venues here, but when you're accepted, do you want to come and play a place that holds a couple hundred people? Probably not, I would think. So, you know. Anyway, dream come true to see them. So, and I finally did. A couple of honourable mentions, and I won't say much about them. Von Herzen Brothers opening for the Wild Hearts in 2014. They're a great band, really great band. And Mirath, or Myrath, I don't know how you pronounce that.
Oh, yeah,
I think I said in the prog seat recently that they opened for Camelot, and that was a lie. Sorry, Simon, another lie. They actually opened for Symphony X, so it was still a heck of a bill. Two fantastic bands, and I never thought I'd see Myrath.
Did you see them? Were they there? Is it the truth? You just don't know, do you?
I have no idea.
Fake news.
Yeah. That's me.
All right. So my first one, for some reason, I have a feeling I mentioned this show and this opener on the last show, but then I'm looking at the date. I'm like, well, unless I completely screwed up and went over the 2009 allotment. Did I talk about the Doobie Brothers opening up for Lynyrd Skynyrd at Bethel Woods?
You did.
I did. Well, I shouldn't have talked. I should have talked about them today and not last time. So I won't talk about that. So for those of you watching, go watch the last show. I'm not going to talk about that.
What about? Oh, I've done my homework. I'm ready. I've done it already. I'm really clever, mate.
Well, I have this whole list. That's what I'm just. But I'm looking at the line where last time and this time, and I'm like, I specifically remember they're on the This Week talk about, but I specifically remember talking about how the Doobie Brothers blew Lynyrd Skynyrd off the stage. And I'm like, well, why did I talk about it? Because that was 2011. So
Simon, can I just say that we're not in class anymore?
Practicing.
So I think what I did, because I think I mentioned the Doobie Brothers, and instead I should have mentioned Enslaved opening up for Opeth.
Oh, wow. Yes, well, I'm glad you mentioned it at some point. What a bill that is.
Right. So that's how I screwed up. So I should have mentioned the Enslaved show last time. So Enslaved opened up for Opeth at the Grand Ballroom in New York City. And they were amazing. Opeth were really good. This is right around the time where Opeth were like moving away from the death metal stuff. But Enslaved, I mean, it was a great bill. Because I think these two bands have a lot in common in a weird sort of way. And they were just absolutely, absolutely amazing. Every time I've seen Enslaved, they've been great. But I think, now it's like when you go to see Enslaved here in the States, they're generally headlining, even if it's smaller places. I'm going to go, let's see, and these are not really in any order, they should have been, but Rival Sons opening up for Black Sabbath, February 25th, 2016 at Madison Square Garden. And that was probably, that whole tour was probably the biggest exposure that Rival Sons had ever gotten. And you know what? They kicked ass. They owned the stage. And the Sabbath fans, I've seen Sabbath many times in my life. Generally speaking, Sabbath fans are not very kind to opening bands. They actually were very good to Rival Sons. And I think Rival Sons, because they have a little bit of a name already at this point, and they played a lot of their heavier tunes. And, I don't know if the rub from this tour actually helped them sell more CDs albums when they put out Feral Roots a couple of years later. I don't know, but they just looked like they belonged on the big stage in front of, 18,000 people or whatever. So that was really, really good. I saw Nightwing.
Excuse me interrupting. I don't get them.
You don't get Rival Sons?
Don't get them at all, no.
Really?
I don't. Yeah. There you go. I mean, you don't agree with me on Animalize. I don't agree with your Rival Sons.
I'm surprised. You're not the only person, though. I know a couple of people who just don't.
Yeah, they seem quite polarizing. I either seem to love them or don't. And I
don't. To me, I don't know. They're just, they're good bluesy 70s hard rock, with a great singer and catchy songs and a good guitar player. But there are some people that are just like,
Yeah, I mean, they play music I should like, and I just, saw them opening for Blackstone Cherry, I think it was, a few years back, quite a few years back now, and kind of went, yeah. Heard them a lot on the radio over here. Well, Planet Rock over here.
Have you listened to that whole Feral Roots album?
Yeah, because I have tried, because I understand that it should slot right into what I like, and I just can't get it. I'll try again. We'll try again.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't happen, right? What are you gonna do? Loverboy, we mentioned them before. So I saw Loverboy. I mean, this is a funny story, but we're talking about the opener here. Now, let's forget about the whole Mike Reno walking out on stage, and I was like, that's Mike Reno, like 100 pounds heavier, and yeah, whatever. But it was at the Dutchess County Fair. That's a big thing here in the States. They have these fairs, these summertime fairs, right? People go and eat cotton candy and crappy food and walk around and go on rides. And then, there's a stage, and you have 70s or 80s classic rock bands playing. So we had Loverboy headlining, and Night Ranger opened up. And this was right before Joel Hoekstra left Night Ranger to go join Whitesnake, right? And I hadn't seen Night Ranger in a long time, and they were amazing. And newsflash, they blew Loverboy off the stage. Not surprising there. I mean, they all looked great. They sounded great. They played all the songs you wanted to hear. It's just really, really great set. I saw, this might be obscure for you guys too, maybe a lot of people watching, but I saw a 70s heavy rock band Bang open up for Pentagram, November 11, 2014 at the Gramercy Theater in New York City. So Bang were a really good power trio, kind of like they were from the early 70s. They were signed to a major label. They released 4 albums in total, and then they broke up, and they've gotten back together again. But this was like their reunion tour. If you like the idea of Black Sabbath meets Grand Funk Railroad meets the Beatles, check out Bang. They were so good. I had never seen them before. I've been listening to them for a number of years, and just being able to see them live was great. And they kicked ass. And then Pentagram were great as well too. But Bang were really, really good. April 13, 2016, again at Madison Square Garden, Santana 4 opening up for Journey. So this was the big Santana reunion with Greg Raleigh and Neil Schon and most of the guys, and Carlos Santana. They opened up for Journey. They played a spectacular set of all old Santana classics, plus a few songs from the then new album, which came out at the time. They were amazing. That was like almost like a life-changing thing for me. Seeing like all, a good chunk of the classic Santana guys, of which, a handful of them were played at the Woodstock show back in '69 and subsequent tours, 70 and 71. So that was really cool. Steve Winwood opening up for Steely Dan.
Nice.
July 9th at Bethel Woods, 2016. That was great. That was my first time seeing Steve Winwood live, and he was terrific. Played a couple Traffic songs, few of his hits, obviously. Basically, you knew everything he was playing. And what really struck me is how great of a guitar player he was that night. I mean, all of us who were sitting in the same area were like, holy crap, he is wailing on the guitar tonight. Very underrated for a guitar player. Really, really underrated. And his voice was perfect. I mean, he has not lost a step vocally whatsoever. March 20, 2018 at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, Saxon opening up for Judas Priest. To me, that was a perfect bill. I really respect Judas Priest because in recent years, they have been taking out some great bands with them who are of the same ilk, kind of from the same era, and giving them a chance to perform once again in front of big crowds. So there was probably like 10 or 12,000 people at the show, and Saxon owned it. I mean, Biff is just, he's still so great. The band were playing a lot of newer stuff and a good chunk of the old classics. Excellent, excellent show. What else? Whitesnake opening up for Foreigner, June 16, 2018 at Saratoga Performing Arts Center. That was actually the last time.
Up for, or is that a double headliner?
You know what? They played an hour. Foreigner played an hour and a half. So I don't know. I don't know if it wasn't quite. And then Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin Experience opened the show. So it was a really great triple bill. And I thought Whitesnake were great. They're always really good live. Coverdale as always has his vocal issues live, but he's got a great band that does great backing vocals. They played everything you wanted to hear. So it was really, really good. That was now 4 years ago. So that's the last time I saw them. I'm hoping I can catch them on this last tour here, but we'll see. And then Judas Priest opening for Deep Purple, September 2nd, 2018 at Bethel Woods, the old Woodstock venue. That was really cool. Priest were amazing, and it was an outdoor show, ridiculously loud, like painfully loud, but they were really great. Purple were really good too, but most people agreed that Priest kind of stole the show, which, not surprising. And then my last one, again, Judas Priest, what I talked about before, how they always seem to play with really great bands from the era. So I've already talked about them playing with Saxon. I've already talked about them playing with Deep Purple. They had Uriah Heep opening March 18, 2019 at the Palace Theater in Albany, New York. And Heep were spectacular. They went down a storm. And I've seen Heep many times, and I think they just really, again, appreciated being on a bigger stage, because when you see Heep now in the States, they generally play small little theaters or clubs, 1,000 people, maybe 1,200, 800, something like that. So here they were playing in a bigger place that holds, 2,000 or 3,000 or something like that, or whatever it is. And they just owned it, and they played all their more heavy stuff. And they went down a storm. It was really great to see Priest fans really embracing, an older band like Heap, who's been around a million years, and not everybody gets to see them when they come around here. So that was really good. And that was my last one for the good ones. So.
It's interesting with like the comparison with Heap and Saxon, because Saxon, admittedly here, I mean, they play good sized venues again now, thankfully, but they're not playing ginormous domes.
Right.
But they do headline things like Wacken. I mean, they are playing in Europe to like 35,000 people as a headliner. Uriah Heep, unfortunately, well, that's kind of not really happening, I would suggest. They're playing still slightly smaller venues in the UK, and they're still a draw on the festival circuit, but to hear them like getting a chance to play those sort of big shows again, that's great, because they're absolutely outstanding live, and Bernie Shaw must be one of the most underrated vocalists.
Oh, it's so good, so good. The set list was great, and I remember like towards the end of the show, and I went, I was hanging out with the guys after the show, after their set, before Priest came on. And yeah, that's right. And I mean, Mick Box told me specifically, he goes, I would love to come back here and headline, because I think we might be able to do it, Joe, based on, the response we got tonight. And I'm like, you might be able to, bring another decent band with you and do like a cool double bill. Who knows? But it was quite good.
See, hope so.
Yeah. All right, Simon, back to you. The worst.
Okay, just before I do the worst, I just remembered that in May 2019, I just happened to go into the Waterloo bar in Blackpool just for a drink. And they said, as we're coming, it was mid-afternoon, so, are you coming to the band? So, no, it's only like mid-afternoon, got my elderly in-laws with me. So I was having a drink, and suddenly the band started practicing. What do they call it?
Sound check.
Sound check. And they did quite a long sound check. So I'm just ticking off that I too have seen Air Race.
Oh, nice.
Yes. should we have another? Go on then. And then they split up shortly thereafter, didn't they?
Say again, sorry?
They split up shortly thereafter, didn't they?
They did, yeah. They released that album, then they split up, and then they reformed. But I think only Laurie Mansworth was there from the original lineup. They released a third album, and then they split again.
I think that's when I said, well, they really thoroughly enjoyed them. Didn't come back 4 hours later, but nonetheless, I've got them on my list.
Who heard about it? That's all that counts, right?
That's it.
Absolutely. I did not enjoy Driving and Crying.
Oh, okay. I like the band a lot.
Did not enjoy that one little bit at Manchester Apollo in 2016. I know I'm not the kind of let's go along and clap and have fun, but I do quite like it when they make some form of effort to engage the crowd rather than just, I've got 6 strings. I think I'll stare at them all night.
Oh, okay. I've never seen them. I really like the albums.
No. But I also feel like some of my thunder has been stolen. I've been waiting for months, no years, for this moment, and it's been stolen. Because I'm going to name the worst live experience I've ever had. I'm going to do it now. Are you ready? Right. I saw in 2012 3 bands, 2 of which have already been mentioned tonight. I saw first, who haven't been mentioned, Turbo Wolf. No, I wouldn't go out of my way to go to the T section and pick out Turbo Wolf, mainly because there's none there. But I was entertained by Turbo Wolf. I was also entertained by the headliners, Blackstone Cherry. I was not one little bit entertained by Rival Sons. Fuck me, they were boring. Jesus Christ on a bike. I have. Did they think, oh, we're in Manchester, so we'll stir at our shoes for 45 minutes? Is that what they thought? Jesus, I've never seen a band not want to be there quite as much. I don't know what. We all have our off days, don't we? But, oh, God.
What year was this? 2012?
No. Just
maybe a few years later, they got a little more.
That is interesting, Simon, because we really came away from that gig going, what is all the fuss about? And that has maybe tainted my thoughts about them ever since, because I really like Blackstone Cherry. I like them more then than I do now, if I was to be honest.
Me too.
But we kind of thought, I think we only got the two bands, to be fair, because, it's Scotland. And we thought, that's one band we really want to see, another band we're hearing lots and lots about. This is going to be great. And just the whole place at the end of it, we're just kind of like, and then Blackstone Cherry came out, and they were really good. But yeah, I'm totally with you. So I will try again with an open mind.
Yeah.
I saw them, they were.
My friend was due to see Aerosmith on their recently cancelled European tour, and I might have texted him and said, no, Rival Sons, give you the swerve, go to the bar, do anything, but no. I'm sorry, people. I just on that night,
we maybe saw them on the wrong tour, Simon, because
maybe so. Yeah, maybe so. But
felt the same. I know they got a lot of love, so
didn't enjoy.
Well,
if I could have walked out, I would have done.
Oh well, you can't like everything, right?
Well, we all see and hear things differently, don't we?
That's right.
There we go. Are you done, Simon?
Simon Bray's all done.
Simon Bray is all done.
He's talking about himself in the third person. That's how done he is.
That is how done he is. I'm glad. Ask him if he's fine. Okay. So,
he says he's good.
That's good. I'm delighted. So, have you ever been at a gig and thought to yourself, and I'm going back to 2012 here, so 10 years ago, okay, 10 years and 1 month ago, okay, and you've been standing there and you've thought, I'm too old for this shit. Has that happened? Is it just me? Okay, because I went to see Ginger Wildheart. Now that in itself was no surprise, okay, and we saw them at the Glasgow Cat House, which would also appear to be no surprise, okay. The band that opened for them were a band called Baby Godzillas. Okay. And I saw
Baby Godzillas?
Yep.
Tiny little Godzillas?
Very small.
Tiny,
very small.
That's at least a humorous name.
Well, I think they thought they were a humorous band. Okay. So the Cat House is not a huge venue, holds a couple of hundred people.
It's a cat house.
It's a cat house. Okay.
Yeah.
And as we were going into the venue, we must have been held up in traffic, late at work, whatever it was. So Baby Godzillas were on when we got into the venue. So, band's on. I like to see a support act. I like to see the support act. Often I think, why did I bother? But I like to see the support act. So we immediately went through. And as we went through, another kind of doors either side, it's a strange venue. There's a bar, then the merch, and there's doors either side of the merch, and you can kind of go round and into the venue. As we were coming round, coming past us, laughing their asses off, were Random John Poole, who was on bass with Ginger's band that night, and Ginger himself. Okay, whatever was happening, they thought was hilarious. So we got into the venue and thought, that's weird, there's nobody on the stage. And only at that point did we realise that what Baby Godzillas were doing was they were challenging the audience. They weren't playing a gig. They were playing in the middle of the floor. So the drummer, yes, he was up on stage, and so were the amps, but the guitarist, bassist, the singer, they were running around the middle of the room, in your face, being as confrontational and as obnoxious as they possibly could. And I have no idea if they were good, bad, or indifferent, because literally within 90 seconds of being in this room, the three of us that were at that gig, they looked at each other and went, I can't be fucking bothered with this, can you? And they were like, no. And we all went through to the bar. And I mean, the bar is literally like 20 feet that direction, but you just can't see the stage from there. And I wanted absolutely.
That is weird.
Yeah. I mean, and it was clearly, that was, whether they did it every night or whether they just had a notion to themselves, or I have no idea. But they clearly thought that this was either a way to endear themselves or it was a bit of a challenge. Can we do this? How will it go down? Will we be remembered? They're being remembered. It's one of the worst opening acts experiences that I couldn't tell you if they were good, bad, or indifferent that night. I've seen them since. They were all right. When they actually played in a bigger room supporting the Wild Hearts and they had to actually stay on the stage, they were okay. Nothing to write home about. But that night, it really was one of those things where you thought, I'm not convinced I need to do this kind of thing anymore. And thankfully, the main act were really good. So the Sintra Welter band were excellent, and it kind of restored my faith in rock and roll. But Baby Godzilla's was just, they were meant to be obnoxious, and it was obnoxious. Mission accomplished, I suppose. So there you go. So the other two that I really didn't like, the Dives, who opened for Kiss in 2017 at the Glasgow Hydro. For anyone that doesn't know, there was a reason that the Dives got that gig, and that's because one of the guys in the band is called Evan Stanley. Okay, so clearly Daddy's band are headlining, so Evan can play. They were just rubbish. They were just lifeless and boring. Didn't deserve to be there for any other reason than Daddy said so. And nobody got involved, nobody liked it. It was just, I mean, Kiss used to bring out great bands with them, and it was just as flat as it possibly could be. And yet, 2 years later, Kiss managed to outdo themselves by not bringing a support band. They brought Garibaldi. Garibaldi is art to music. This is a gentleman that, whilst heavy rock tunes that you may know from your past are blaring from the speakers round the venue, he will paint things for you on stage, a stage that is way over there. Okay, so we're watching this random nonsense twat painting thing. I think he's actually quite big news for anyone from the UK and further afield, I would imagine, to be slightly inappropriate. It was kind of like watching Rolf Harris live. Okay, it was just the bizarrest thing watching this guy, I presume in his head going, right? I would imagine that's what he's doing, because I had to when he was doing it, because otherwise I would have probably killed myself. But the whole shtick was that he was painting famous rock gods. I can only remember one. I think he painted three. Why? Because once you see one, I mean, the guy paints with big slappy brush strokes. And then you would go, what the fuck is that? And he would turn it upside down and you go, oh no, he's been painted upside down. That's Ozzy.
No good.
And that was the reaction he got. It's like,
Well, what do you expect, right? I mean, come on.
I mean, we're talking, I mean, the Hydro is Scotland's biggest venue. It holds 10,000 people or something like that. Kiss basically sold it out. And you've got a guy slapping paint on a white rectangle on stage, running around like he's a rock star, plus music is piped through the PA. And we got about 25 minutes to half an hour of this. It's one of the most appalling things I've ever seen as a warm-up act. It was just ridiculous, garbage, nonsense, and pathetic. And I didn't even like it as much as that sounds. What I've actually written at the bottom of my notes was it was utter bollocks, and that's exactly what it was.
It sounds
utter
like
bollocks.
Yep.
There you go. That's me. I'm done. Can't bet.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because that just brought to mind one that I didn't jot down that I think was from 2013. I think that, or somewhere around that time period. And it was a PNC Arts Center in New Jersey. It was Andrew WK opening up for Black Sabbath on the End tour. This was the beginning of the End tour, beginning of the End. But he didn't play. He sat up there with a turntable and a little DJ booth, and he spun songs for like 45 minutes. And nothing that you hadn't heard a million times before. And I'm like, I remember we were thinking, this is the best you can fucking do. This is a legendary tour. This is Black Sabbath's final tour with 3/4 of the original band. And the best you could do is get Andrew WK spinning classic rock records up there for 45 minutes. And they paid him to do that. It's like, what? Yeah.
Did he spin his own records?
No, God, thank God, because his music sucks.
The only thing that could have made it worse.
All sitting there like, what is this? Right? You know, we came in from the parking lot drinking beers for this. I'm like, oh my God. And we had heard that he was going to be opening, but we thought that he was going to play. No, he was DJing. Sorry, Andrew WK, the star DJ of the day. I'm like, oh God. So I only remember that because of your story, because it's kind of similar in a weird way.
Yeah, you wonder who makes these decisions. I mean, these are heritage acts that people are desperate to see, and you think, I mean, that will be the last time I'll ever see Kiss, I would imagine, because I didn't go to download a few months back or a few weeks ago, and maybe should have done now. I've seen the footage because they actually looked like they were great. No great surprise. And you think, well, if they're still playing at that level, and they have their haters, I absolutely get it. Why do you need to bring out shit to open the show? Why would you not bring out something that would get people up for it right from the off? As you say, you see Priest taking out, Saxon, Heap. I've seen them with Scorpions, taking a risk. Scorpions blew them away that night, but taking a risk, at least making sure that they've upped their game. And then I'm watching some guy paint, and you're watching some guy play records.
Right. Well, you know what? Screw both of them. Call in a half hour early and play 3 more songs.
Yeah.
Is it that hard?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You don't got to pay someone,
Absolutely.
right? Because they had to pay Garibaldi. They had to pay Andrew WK to be there every night, right? So why? What's the point? I don't know.
Well, see, now there's a thing. I'm not going to give it away because that would be unkind, because I wouldn't want to see it from the person that told me. But one of the acts that's been mentioned as an opening act tonight told me how much it cost to get on a tour. Okay. And they told me that it was £2,000 to get on and play. And I went, wow, for the tour? And they went, no, a night. Okay.
That's crazy.
So there's no guarantee who's getting paid what.
Yeah.
When you're watching an opening act. It's a very strange little world out there, because I thought that was a band that I kind of thought, well, they might draw some punters, so you would ask them to come and be on that bill. No, they paid a fortune, and I would imagine lost a lot of money to go and do the opening tour that they did.
But I got to think, if I'm Andrew WK and you say to me, you have to pay X amount of money to, DJ for Black Sabbath every night.
Yeah, okay.
How
Yeah,
is that going to promote his music?
Yeah.
Does he even release albums anymore? I don't know. I mean, he's been a joke forever as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know. It's just really weird.
Maybe different levels I'm talking about there, but yeah, absolutely. But,
very strange. Anyway,
yeah.
I only have 2 others. This was I didn't really see a lot bad in this decade or so. Here's one. Again, we're going back to the Judas Priest show, or Judas Priest and Saxon at Prudential Center, March 2018. There was another opening act, believe it or not. It was Black Star Riders actually opened up the show. And I like Black Star Riders. Mm-hmm. They had probably the worst sound I've ever heard from an opening band in a big arena ever. They came out and played to this wall of mud. You couldn't tell what was a guitar, what was a bass. Poor Ricky Warwick was up there. Boom, 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 boom. All you heard was bass, drums, and this big mud guitar. No vocals. It was painfully awful. It was way too loud, and I was wearing earplugs, and all I heard was just like ridiculous bass and drums, and just it was absolutely terrible. And I felt really bad for them, because I'm like, this is a high profile gig for them, and they played mostly original stuff and 1 or 2 Thin Lizzy songs, if I remember correctly, and you couldn't tell one song from the next. It was awful. So and it's a shame. It's a real shame. So that was one. The other one, the last one, is the show was August 8th, 2019 at Bethel Woods, again, the old Woodstock site. Opening up for Alice Cooper was Hailstorm. I don't get this band. I like their energy. She's got charisma, but man, all she did was sit up there for 45 minutes and scream. And I know there's going to be people watching. It's like, well, Pete, you listen to like death metal and black metal bands and look what they're doing. I'm like, yeah, I get that. But I don't know. I just don't get constantly for 45 minutes. It just didn't make any sense to me. And none of the songs were memorable. And I didn't get it. And, you know, I was looking around and there were people who were enjoying and people that were kind of like doing this. And I'm like, yeah, just bring Alice Cooper on already. And I get she's kind of a star. And I know they're making lots of waves here in the States, but I just don't enjoy their music. And I didn't find their set at all interesting. And I wanted to like it because I wanted to kind of see, all right, what is everybody talking about? What's all the hype about? And I just walked away from that. And I'm kind of like, you know, she probably has a really good voice, but all she does is scream all the time. And she's got energy. You know, the band seems decent, but I just walked away, just kind of like 2 thumbs down. That's all I got.
That's a shame. I've seen Hailstorm a couple of times, always opening, always on like a 3-4 band bill. I've always thought they were quite good. I think the early albums
Might just be me.
worth a listen, and they've kind of peaked. Hopefully what's going to come next will be quite good because there's a lot of talent there. She was really good when I saw her. So same with Rival Sons. Maybe
she's a good performer. I don't know. I kind of was expecting something different, and I don't know. I just, to me, it doesn't seem like a good use of her talents. I don't know.
I didn't get the screaming, but who knows? Who knows? Do you know? As you
maybe
say,
maybe it was the gig. I don't know. Who the hell knows?
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Absolutely.
And we started the show, Simon was in full light, and now it's like all of a sudden that late evening UK sun that you guys get, which is bizarre for me.
Yeah,
is gone, right?
Oh, just after 8 o'clock here.
Yeah. As the fourth wall gets broken yet again on City Tranquility. So there you have it, everybody. Our favorite and least favorite opening acts of 2010 to yesterday, today, whatever. Let us know what interesting or maybe not interesting opening acts you have seen over the last 12 years or so. Put that down in the comments below. And a little sneak peek into next week's episode. We're going to dip back into favorite and least favorite albums once again for the mighty AC/DC. So stay tuned for that. A week from today, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. UK time. That's when it'll be airing. So see you in a week. Any last words, Simon and Steven, before we let everybody go?
I'm just thinking you should wrap it up before Simon can't find his way out of that room.
Oh, very cool.
Apart from that, no.
All right. Well, Simon, get out your nightlight because I want to make sure you get back to your bedroom. Okay. So.
Oh, yeah, because this is definitely it for tonight.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That is right. So thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seeyoutranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together, all the damn time. See you next week for AC/DC. For Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. Have a good rest of the weekend, everybody. See you relatively soon here on the channel. Be good. Take care. Bye-bye.